is up, Metal from Metal Universe? PJ Steven here for part 2 of our Table of Metal. Metal in the 80s. Fantastic first part that we had. We got the same panel back here. We have Billy Metz from Tiger Mask, John Wilkes Telephone Booth, the former manager of the best record store ever in Charleston, Cats Music. Mike Osborne, of course, from Glam Nation, fantastic guitar player, and the founding member of Glam Nation. Don't let anyone else tell you different. I said this in the first part. Here we go.
It so much.
Seth Hydrake, he's in nothing. No. You're trying to get something going. You're trying. Yeah. He's moved here from Ohio. Great friend of mine from here in Charleston. Fantastic dude. I love the guy. Paul Laughlin from I Love the Media. They're working on their second record right now.
Yes.
They've been on the show before. I love these guys.
You have the feeling you've been somewhere before?
We've been here before. Guys, if you missed the first... If you missed the first part, we've had a little bit of drink and something to eat before the first, after the first part, so that's great. Look at the first part. If you haven't hit that, this is part 2 of Table of Metal, the 80s in metal.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Yes.
So we're going to get to that right now. We're going to start with 1986. We ended with 1985 on the first part. We're going to start it again with 1986. Something I think is worth mentioning is Alice Cooper's record, Constrictor, came out this year. I love that Alice Cooper record, and I know people don't like Alice Cooper 80s, but I love that record.
Is that Feed My Frankenstein?
No, that's Teenage Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Shit.
Then that's not Poison.
Yeah. Well, you know, your Final Countdown comes out at this time. 1986 always also gives us Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time, Turbo.
I like Somewhere in Time.
Fatal Portrait. Pleasure to Kill from Creator, of course, and of course Slayer, Rain and Blood, which we will talk about a little bit later. But first of all, I want to talk about a record that really hit fucking the 80s hardcore, and that's Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet. Wasn't that a big deal? Mike, tell me about that.
That was a huge deal. Bon Jovi came out as the rock star that your mom liked.
Okay.
Which was huge.
So that made it even more mainstream. Because as much as we don't like to admit it, Bon Jovi is technically metal because it's glam metal. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bon Jovi pretty much owned MTV when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
They got played to the point that I couldn't stand them.
Bon Jovi made metal fuckable. It's true. I mean, everybody was kind of hardcore and either like super tough or like kind of like a very feminine super tough.
Yeah, he had the cute little tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a subdued tattoo, and he smiled a whole lot.
He did smile. You don't smile when you're in metal.
He was like Canadian polite too.
Yeah. So all of a sudden now metal is like bangable, and that to me is really where you hit that hair metal mark.
Yeah. Because
everybody at that point is like, holy crap, we can get laid. It doesn't have to be a room full of dudes.
Yeah.
What do you mean it doesn't have to smell like armpits and cigarettes? And now you have Bon Jovi kind of open that gate.
Yeah.
And that album had great songwriting.
Oh, yeah.
So would you think that was the pinnacle of glam metal, or do you think the same record that came out that year was Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In?
Yeah.
I think
that was the one.
That is true glam. Hair metal, glam metal.
It was more over the top.
It was more about the image than the music.
Was Unskinny Bop on that record?
No.
That's
the next one.
I remember I had the tape Look What the Cat Dragged In, and I was like, these chicks are hot.
Yeah.
It was them.
That's the same way I reacted to a picture of AFI later.
Yeah.
I mean, like, man, that's a hot chick. That's Davey Havoc. Shit.
That's kind of like me and Sebastian Bach. Like, who's that chick that sings for Skid Row?
Yeah.
Dude, when do we hit Skid Row? Is that?
That's 89.
All right, cool.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We're at 86.
Poison, you had CC DeVille with, he had different guitars
CC,
every
pick
5
up that
seconds.
guitar
Who needs that many guitars?
Wow.
That was also like the year of the heavy metal guitar method in like the back of the magazines, where it's like, we will teach you how to shred.
Yeah.
And it was like this butchered, like weird, like version of the Nashville number system. It was kind of but that's how a lot of folks who are a little older than me, that's kind of how they learned it.
My buddy Justin Gibney, you'll be watching this. he bought that. Justin was a badass rhythm guitar player, could play thrash like nobody's business, but he didn't play leads. And one summer, he got those tapes.
And all of a sudden,
I didn't see him all summer.
Killing it.
When we went back to school, he was the baddest shredder in school, almost.
Next to you.
No, I'm still not. But yeah, but the heavy metal method, yeah.
yeah.
I want to take a break from glam metal real quick because glam metal was one of the genres that ruled 80s heavy metal. Well, we're talking about this in part 2 of our Metals of 80, but our metal 80s. I want to talk about the album Peace Sells for a little bit. That was Megadeth's sophomore record. In my opinion, completely killed their first record. What was your guys' opinion when you first heard Peace Sells?
It's not hard to kill that first record.
Right.
It was killing that, man.
Do you think? I mean,
Mechanics? Oh yeah. No.
I mean that.
No, Peace Sells.
Yeah, fucking Wake Up Dead, Devil's Island, fucking The Conjuring. Where did that come from?
If there is a perfect album for Megadeth, that's probably it.
Yeah.
And I think it was all based on like a competitive nature where he was like, I will not be outdueled by
Exactly.
Metallica.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
And they had the MTV Music News with Kurt Loder.
Yeah.
The bass line, doom, 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 was his intro music.
Was that Hangar 18?
No, baseline to Peace Sells.
Peace Sells. Okay.
You're talking about 90s. We're not talking about 90s.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Peace Sells, man. I mean, that record is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn. I mean, Good Morning, Black Friday. I mean, that
It's-
whole
it's fun
and the
for that.
album cover. You know, the For Sale piece with the Vic Rattlehead you mentioned earlier on our part 1 episode. The Vic Rattlehead over the sign. I mean, that's a great record, and I think that it's like Megadeth knew that like that first record was shit, and they're like, guys, we really need to up the ante. And
They did.
That first
Peace
album
Sells.
was produced like how like a prog rock album would be produced. Like all the edge was taken off.
Yeah.
Sure.
It sounds like, I mean, it's like Yes level sterile.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
It's like soundtrack music.
Yeah. And these songs are killers. Like if you hear them live now, they're killers.
They are,
But
they still play them live.
on that album, they did not sound that way.
Right.
It was really a subdued record, except for Dave Mustaine really ratcheting up his Dave Mustaine
Vocals.
kind of. Well, I mean, it's kind of a Bobo Halford, is what he does.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a kind of as close to Halford as he can get.
Yeah.
But it's
Me and Phil,
yeah, it is. It's kind of got that Halfordishness to it.
Yeah.
But that's there. Nothing else is there. And then all of a sudden you hit Peace Sells and you've got Marty Freeman
And you got Dave
Yeah.
Ellison coming at you.
now it's really
Because I remember when I first heard Wake Up Dead, I was like, this sounds alright, you know, and I went back to listen to it, you know, over and over, and I was like, this is some great fucking guitar work. And then you hear The Conjuring, and then you hear Peace Sells, that open bass line that David Ellison does, or Junior, I guess, is what Dave Mustaine wants to call him, because he can't have two Daves in a fuck, which I guess because I can't have two Billies in an episode, I can't have, you know.
He's definitely a narcissist.
He really is.
But I mean, can we take a second and there's this Metallica versus Megadeth feud at this time.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, can we admit that Megadeth clearly lost?
Sure.
I mean, I think it's pretty
A
obvious.
lot of people won't say that.
No, I'll definitely admit that Megadeth lost. I still prefer Megadeth better than Metallica. But in '86, you segued right into the other album that came out in 1986 by Metallica is Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
That was
Like punk metal, man.
That
was
record is fantastic, and it still hasn't
that
touched
is
time.
your God Saiyan level
Yeah.
of thrash right there.
That's where I actually enjoyed Lars as a drummer on
Dun.
that album, man. Like,
Dun, dun, dun.
It was one of the only albums they ever made that didn't expose him for.
yeah, for being the weak link.
But Metallica was really good at.
Hit close on that.
Yeah.
Dennis, cut that out if you see this.
Metallica
Thank you.
was
Except for
really,
my close-up.
Yeah.
Metallica was really good at hiding each member's weaknesses.
Yeah.
And there is no better proof of
To
that.
me, that's what a band's about.
Well,
Yeah.
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 If you can tell that the drummer is not
Except
a
Megadeth, they
wizard.
didn't hide Dave's vocals at all.
Well, if you shouldn't be able to tell. I mean, a good balanced band, you're covering each other.
Yeah.
Pete Townsend in The Who really wasn't that amazing of a guitar player. He was all power chords for the gross most part.
Yeah.
No hate on that. That's pretty much been everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
But you had Keith Moon and you had John Entwistle totally making up for any lost space and covering every missing note. And Metallica did an incredible job of really cementing themselves.
And 1980, Master of Puppets was the first record with absolute zero Dave Mustaine influence, which I think is very important. I mean, you know, every single song off that record is fantastic. Leper Messiah, Orion.
It's a good like road album too.
It really is.
Really
You know, Battery, you know, the title track.
Battery's good.
Have they ever even played Battery live?
Yeah, they play Battery live all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Both times I saw them, they didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, they must not do this.
No, they play live every now and again. But yeah, Leper Messiah. I mean, Disposable Heroes. That song is fucking.
There's not a bad song.
Damn, that song is.
There's
heavy.
not.
There isn't.
Not
Orion, even Orion. I'm not a big fan of instrumentals, man, but that Orion, that Orion track is great.
It beat the hell out of Anesthesia Pulling Teeth as far as the solo goes.
Well, Master of Puppets spent 72 weeks on the charts at number 29. Holy shit. 72 weeks on the charts.
That's like a Pink Floyd duration. That actually carries them all the way through up to Injustice.
Yeah.
They stayed on the charts till the next album came out.
And that's a big deal, you know. You hear me on the show. I talk a little bit of shit about Metallica, but at the end of the day, I give them respect for being probably the most popular metal band in the world.
They are the marijuana of metal.
That's
They are the gateway drug.
That's
Sometimes
really
you just stop at pot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you move on into heroin.
Yeah.
And
I
a
moved
lot
on
of us,
into heroin
a lot of us
with
went into
power
the
metal.
heroin of heavy metal.
Like the Black Album brought in so many people that don't even give a
Yeah.
shit
Well, I mean,
about
so
that.
it is the
They
best.
just like that album.
I think it's the fourth biggest selling album of the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's like 1990.
Yeah.
Didn't they tour on that record for 5 years to like 96 or something?
It was like
that?
damn near a year and a half
Yeah.
at least, non-stop. And then there was another round.
Yeah.
Because they did, it was Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Faith No More.
Yeah.
And James gets blown up, and that pretty much
Yeah.
ends the year and a half.
But he kept playing at least.
Yeah, because
Axl was a bitch during that one.
And
Yeah.
it was,
Because that started the riot.
Yeah.
but then they went off the road for like 3 months and then went back on for a year. Like, they were still touring on the Black Album, it felt like when Load came out.
Yeah, they were playing with like orchestras.
Because Load had shit on it. They couldn't tour anything on Load.
That's selling something.
No, they totally did.
Yeah, they did. I want to get to Random Blood actually hits 94 on the Billboard. I'm talking about the song Random Blood hits 94 on the Billboard. I want to talk about something here that's, I mean, incredible in my opinion. The song Final Countdown, which I'm looking at you, Mike, reaches number 1 in 26 countries. Why was that such a big deal?
The lead.
Oh God, yeah.
Is it just catchy? Just
is
so
so
catchy.
catchy.
It's catchy. They actually opened and closed with that song.
I bet they did.
The lead's cool.
They probably
the chorus
still
is
do.
cool.
Yeah.
The lyrics are actually.
We could sit here right
Dumb.
now, I guarantee, and we could perfectly do the first 20 seconds of that song a cappella.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's another video for another time.
We get excited.
That's how you know you've got gold.
So the Final Countdown reaches number 1 in 26. Are we still going with that glam metal
Yeah.
trend?
I don't know if
They
they
were-
was glam metal.
They were glam looking.
Yeah, they kind
Well,
of
they
took
were
it to
games
another.
looking too. I
Yeah.
mean,
They kind of took it to
Yeah.
another level. They were more orchestral metal, or
Sure.
they were almost the beginning of power metal.
Like
in
symphonic
their
metal?
way. They were
maybe?
power.
That's what
Yeah.
Symphonic metal, yeah.
Yeah.
Something sad in 1987, or excuse me, 1986, as we know, is Cliff Burton dies in Sweden from a bus accident. Horrible while they're on the Master of Puppets tour. You know, as much as I like Robert Trujillo, Cliff Burton will always be my favorite bassist from Metallica.
Yeah.
Terrible part in 1986. After that, we're going to move on to 1987, which we're getting to with not a whole lot forms in 1987. I have a couple things down here. The Rollins Band forms, Skid Row forms, Alice in Chains forms. Not a whole lot of bands that form.
There's
But we have some great records that come out around this time. Anthrax, Among the Living, comes out in
Good God.
87. Hysteria, Pleasures of the Flesh, GNR, Appetite for Destruction, the first Guns N' Roses record, which I can argue part of it's very, very much metal. King Diamond, Abigail, UDO, Animal House comes out, Testament, Legacy, Sanctuary, Refuge Denied. Girls, 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 which we'll get to later. And of course, one of my favorite records from '87, Death, Scream, Bloody Glory comes out. And goddamn, that's a great record. 1987, talk to me about that.
I will say that Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I was having this
What a great first record.
Oh my god. I mean, how do you top
Again,
that?
all
Yeah.
time, no filler.
What a great first record.
And like every song is different. Like that's
And,
Guns N'
and what's
Roses,
crazy
man.
is
Like,
they did top it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, they spread it out across 2 CDs, but
Yeah.
they did.
Shit, I think GNR Lives tops it.
I would say
So that's my personal opinion, because I love GNR Lives.
I like
Go
for
ahead.
my age group, I honestly think that Guns N' Roses is the Led Zeppelin of my generation.
Yeah.
I think that's probably
That's
a
a
fair
huge
assessment for sure.
leap. But
Yeah, but who else would it be?
Yeah. Who competes with them?
I don't think there is anybody.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
As far as mass market rock appeal, they're it.
Yeah. Usually when something's
You're not
palatable
wrong.
for the
I guess
masses,
you're
like
right,
it kind of sucks.
They
Like,
got.
but theirs was good.
They
Yeah,
actually
first record,
fought
man.
the
I mean-
boyfriends of the Bon Jovi chicks.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go around the table real quick in this round table. Square table. What's your favorite song off that first record? What gets it for you, Billy?
Mr. Brownstone.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say
My
the same
Michelle.
thing.
My Michelle.
We just
Yeah,
added that
too.
one.
Mr.
I was gonna
Brownstone?
say,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Brownstone, man. I like that.
I either like My Michelle or like Rocket Queen.
I
That
get up around 7.
Rocket Queen's got that weird spot in the middle.
yeah. I love at the very end, like where it just kind of slows down, like,
Yeah.
and the final verse or the final line, all I really wanted was for you to know that I care. Just ends the record.
Oh, that's
Like,
beautiful.
it wasn't it? Yeah, but man, Mr. Brownson's great. My Michelle's great. It's all about just some
There's
bitch.
nothing,
You know?
there's nothing shitty on that record at all.
God, I want to listen to that when I'm done.
I remember that first Guns N' Roses video came out. I was like, man, this is different. You know?
Axl Rose looking like a skinny crack whore out there with the bandana.
I think we play half that album.
Yeah.
I
Two
mean,
more
you
songs
do.
were GNR tribute.
Just do that.
there's like a. We were talking earlier about the punk talent versus heart.
Yeah.
There is so much heart and attitude in Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And talent.
And talent. So when you blend those two together, you're bulletproof.
Something I want to say when you talk about talent, I'm glad you touched on that. Is there? I mean, does anyone here think that Slash has a touch of overratedness to him?
Yes.
Yes,
No.
I do too.
I think people give Slash too much shit. I mean, if you've ever tried to play Slash's stuff,
He's creative.
He's
man.
fantastic.
I think
there's a lot of bluegrass in there.
In my opinion, I think Duff McKagan was the star out of Guns N' Roses. Just me.
You mean
It is
when you
just
take
you.
Axl off the front of it, he's the star? Or I mean, with Axl included, you think he's the star?
Both. I mean, I think Duff McKagan is.
Duff McKagan at no point in his career could have pulled off combat boots, a kilt, and a hockey jersey. There's no way he could have done it.
But-
Only Axl could do that.
And
Who
nobody-
else has a bass line that you can whistle?
Yeah.
Good
Not
point.
many.
Yeah.
And even Steven Adler with his fucking heroin stuff, like,
Yeah.
I mean, he can still go. But I mean, in Slash, I mean, he's a great guitar player, but I think people give him, you say people give him too much shit. I think some people give him too much credit.
I see both sides of that coin. He is probably of that era of the main line of metal.
Sure.
He is probably the most palatable lead guitar player
And he's not a show off.
because you still had a lot of
Except when he's playing with
Ingve-
Michael Jackson.
He does what the song calls for him to do. Because
Yeah.
you're sitting there whistling it as you get out of the car. You just heard it. It's still stuck in your
Yeah,
head.
he's
And those are when you made
he's
something special. You
But I
know?
mean, we're coming from a world of Ingve and dudes who play double neck guitars
Yeah.
with both hands at the same
Back and
time.
forth, so you kind of
So we're coming out of some of that, which we didn't touch on, which is fine. But Slash kind of made it melodic again.
Yeah, I think.
And I think that he's got value for that.
And you don't even know what he's really capable of because all he did
'Cause
was
he never
what
showed
was
you.
necessary.
Well, you
Yeah,
heard what he was
that's
capable
right.
of
He
in
never-
his solo
Yeah,
band, Slash and the Conspirators with Miles Kennedy, which I fucking love Miles Kennedy. He doesn't get enough credit
Did you
he
ever hear
deserves.
Beautiful Dangerous with him and Fergie?
I did.
Holy
did.
shit.
Or
Not
Slash's
bad.
Snake Pit, which was really not that good, but
Yeah,
nice.
it was alright.
But from
And who was the band that he had with,
Velvet Revolver?
yeah, Yeah, with what's his name from Stone Temple Pilots?
Scott Weiland.
Scott Weiland. Scott
Somehow,
Weiland.
totally
Yeah,
not
Weiland.
sickening.
Yeah.
It was great. Let's move on here. In 1987, you also see Twisted Sister. Oh, I'm going to touch on this. Girls, Girls, Girls. Motley Crue record. Is that their biggest record?
No. Theater of Pain is.
You think Peter Pan?
Girls might be bigger selling.
I think that
You think so?
I think it's bigger selling.
It's
You
more
can make
stripper
it.
play.
You can actually on sales numbers. You can make a fair argument for Dr. Feelgood.
I was just going to.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. That's after Rehab. That's
Yeah.
after Motley Crue Rehab.
But were
I
all
think
the
Girls,
girls
Girls is-
because I remember Theater of Pain owned the airwaves.
It did. I mean,
Yeah, but
there's the ballad on there.
Sweet Home. And,
yeah.
But if we're bringing up Billboard charts when we're talking about Slayer,
Yeah.
obviously dollars and cents factor in.
True.
So
Good point, because they were 94 on the
Yeah.
drop.
But they had no airplay.
1987 also sees Twisted Sister disbands after Dee Snider goes to try and do his solo career, which did not work out. Sorry, Dee. Not that you're fucking walking.
Strange Land of Grass.
Yeah.
It was good.
Headbangers Ball debuts.
Oh
which
my God.
I fucking love it. Let me talk. We're going to get to that. I'm going to touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
First, I want to mention that Bon Jovi headlines the Monsters of Rock tour. One, doesn't that tell you how great of a band at that time that Bon Jovi was?
Yeah.
To headline the Monsters of Rock tour. Listen, look who's on this album or on this fucking
Bill.
bill. Thank you. Twisted Sister, Kiss, Iron Maiden is on this fucking bill, and still Bon Jovi headlines. That's something I didn't know until researching for this episode. Dee Snider, Bruce Dickinson, Paul Stanley comes out to perform "We're an American Band" by the Grand Funk with Bon Jovi. There's a video on YouTube. Look that up. It's pretty fantastic.
You
And
know that
I'm not looking
Gene
at that.
Simmons' ass.
Yeah.
Opening for Bon Jovi.
And you know, I was
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you know,
and I'm like,
yes.
and I'm like, wow, like I looked that up and like Bruce, yeah, because I'm an Iron Maiden fan through and through, and hearing Bruce go, you know, we're an American band, like, it was really good, and then you know, good shit, man, like I couldn't believe it, and I looked up who was on this bill, and I mean, fuck, you know, maybe
can't argue.
maybe I'm not giving Bon Jovi enough credit. I don't
You
really
gotta
like.
follow the dollar signs on
Look,
this.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
If you don't give Bon Jovi enough credit, you can go to literally any bar in any town
in New Jersey.
in Charleston. You can go to Purple Haze Lounge right now, and they're gonna play "Living on a Prayer." And when they do the "oh," they're gonna cut the music, and the crowd does it.
Yeah.
You don't get that shit any other way than organically.
Yeah.
You have to actually reach people with that. That is, I did not come in here with this expecting to fucking defend Bon Jovi. But there's something amazing
Yeah.
about how that has reached
No, I
people.
agree. It got over hardcore. It got over like road.
And the fact that they did it over and over again.
I like the album of theirs before that, Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit
Was that the one with Runaway on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a badass
That's
song.
some
Bon Jovi had two fantastic vocalists. Richie Sambora was nothing but a singer guitar player before he joined Bon Jovi.
Sure.
So, and then remember when they did Dead or Alive, everybody's like, oh my God, he can sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he made a really
And
shitty
that's all-
solo
is-
album. In the
Oh
90s.
God, yeah.
Is that all
Holy
Slippery
crap.
When Wet? Wanted Dead or Alive?
Yeah.
No.
I thought
Dead or Alive
Yeah.
is actually on the Young Guns 2 soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, you're right.
I am lame,
It is on
guys.
the Young Gun too. Yeah. We're gonna move on
Ooh,
to.
can I hit black metal?
Yeah, we're gonna hit black metal. 1987. But I want to talk real quick about what's your favorite Headbangers Ball guest. Real quick.
I've lost those brain
That's like
cells.
my memory's not that
Yeah,
good.
man.
That's too long.
I love David
I
Stanley.
can't even remember what I ate for lunch.
I loved
yesterday.
Anthrax because you could tell
Yeah,
they were
I
having
was just
so
saying,
much.
Anthrax, they're
Anthrax was so, that band. At no point do you feel like they're not having fun.
Sure.
I watched them play a pickup basketball game outside of Desperados in North Charleston. Like they had a goal
They're all
on the
Yeah,
truck.
I think it's disgusting.
Yeah, they're not dunking on shit. But they pulled that
Why
thing
you can't
out.
jump?
Yeah,
You're talking about
they
Anthrax.
pulled that goal out and they played a full pickup basketball game, and then Joey Belladonna was running back and forth across the friggin' stage the whole night.
Yeah,
They had fun, and you could tell they had fun.
Billy, talk to me about death metal in 1987 because I think that is a very important part when we get into modern day heavy metal.
You kind of hit a cool moment with that where You have Morbid Angel coming out with their first full album. You have Deicide with their self-titled album.
Yep. Violence comes out in '87, I believe.
We're gonna get there because I gotta get this awesome Machine Head story.
It's a great story.
Promise. You have that. You have kind of a sort of continuation of some of the other stuff where you have the German guys. So you have Sodom, you have Creator, you have Destruction, and that kind of files into that category because of how over the top heavy that stuff was.
Sure.
You have Cannibal Corpse at that point. They're starting to factor in. You have the stuff from overseas. You start getting Entombed into that. You start getting, and Entombed really being the only one at that point other than like Hypocrisy. Even black metal starts expanding at that point where you start getting Mayhem coming out with Death Crush.
Which I love.
Burzum, Dark Throne. Those guys start popping up. Thorn starts popping up. So death metal is totally happening on a worldwide scale, but now this black metal thing that we started with in '83 with Merciful Fate is starting to blossom into this whole church burning craziness in '88, '89. And that's kind of where it goes, but you also have some of your early black metal, death metal beginnings with like Godflesh from the grindcore stuff. They're starting to head towards that industrial world.
Yeah, because I mean, grindcore we talked about in the first part of this series with the 80s of metal. Who did we say was one of the first grindcore?
Napalm Death.
Napalm Death
You're going to start
with Scum, which was the very first, in my opinion. Well, I think everyone's opinion, grindcore heavy metal record. But yes, just like you said, when you talk about you talk about Godflesh and going from that. That's really where it starts to blossom. So you're absolutely right.
Well, you're also with that. You're starting to see the beginning with that and Faith No More. You're starting to see the blueprint for what the '90s are about to do. Yeah, that's where you start seeing where you're going to get new metal. But you also have a complete and total awesome low water mark for basically a pioneer being Celtic Frost.
I didn't appreciate it.
Beat Cold Lake.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I got nothing for that whole subject.
Cold Lake is, once again, only available to you in the palm of your hand with the internet and YouTube.
After you watch this. Don't interrupt this video to go look at Cold Lake.
If you do, go watch Cherry Orchard, the music video for Cherry Orchard. It is the worst freaking album ever made by
And that's Celtic Frost.
Yes. I mean, we're talking... Saint Anger looks like a 5-star classic compared to Cold Lake.
Gotta take another drink for that.
Even worse, I spent $27 to import a copy of Cold fucking Lake in like 1998.
What's wrong with you?
I didn't know.
At least you're not bitter.
No, I'm not bitter. Actually, I'm not bitter because it's Celtic Frost and I love them.
I said
but that
Celtic
album's
Frost. I'm sorry, it's Celtic Frost.
Whatever.
Chinese, Japanese.
He said something that I hadn't thought of before, but Faith No More really was the beginning of new metal.
Them and Godflesh to me are the beginning point for that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And we come back to SOD from a minute ago. Their second album, Celtic Frosted Flakes, which tells you everything you need to know about Celtic Frost if you don't know anything about them.
Well, I like all the Mike Patton stuff.
Also, you have that would also be Rollins Band and Danzig falling at that same time.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's kind of where punk kind of crosses over second time.
Danzig's first record comes out in '88. Which is what we're going to get to right now.
This is the last Samhain record, should we say.
Exactly. 1988, Amon Amarth forms, which is a great Viking metal.
Yeah, I didn't realize they went that.
Exactly. Cannibal Corpse forms in '88, and Gamma Ray forms in '88, which is something that I didn't know.
I had the place way further back than that, like back with Halloween.
Nope. Cannibal Corpse in '88, based on my notes.
I want to read ahead so I actually have something.
Well, something I want to talk about '88, something that I think is really awesome. Blind Guardian's debut album is 1988, and goddamn, would that make an impression on power metal to this day? And in the early 90s when they started the Wacken Festival. So I mean,
It is almost that.
The Whacking Festival.
I think it's Wacken, technically, but
Wacken.
we're Americans, so
Yeah, we're American. We don't use chopsticks.
But I think that Blind Guardian and Gamma Ray, when you put them together, that's really where you go from that metal, that new wave of British heavy metal and
Right into
all that stuff. That's where you really define power
metal. Exactly. I was gonna hit that. Yep.
Metal's got
Well,
so many subs-
1988.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
1988, a complete game changer came out. Operation Mindcrime.
Operation Minecraft by Queensrÿche. I was gonna hit that.
My
Yes,
favorite
sir.
album of all time.
That is a great record. Some other records that came out, man. Anthrax, State of Euphoria, Danzig's first record. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which is my favorite Iron Maiden record. That's my favorite Iron Maiden record ever.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just kind of
that weird?
surprised by that.
I'm a sucker for concept albums. And
I love that album, but
Them, King Diamond came out. Winger, which we'll touch on. Slayer, Sonic comes out. Operation Mindcrime, No Rest for the Wicked.
Striper,
which is the first record with Zach Wilde. No Rest for the Wicked being Ozzy Osbourne's solo record. The first record that came out was with Zach Wilde. Manowar, Kings of Metal. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about Manowar right now with their guitar player getting hit with child pornography.
Let's pass.
But we're gonna pass that.
Right now.
I want to talk about a few things. First of all, Seth, I want to ask you real quick. Machine Head story. Give it to me real quick.
All right, so I used to work security at the House of Blues, and I was working on the dock for the Machine Head show. And so if you worked the dock, you had to get there at noon because that's when the band started showing up and wanted to load their gear in. So this was after the show at like 10 o'clock at night. And the drummer for Machine Head comes out, and I'm standing on the dock, there's nobody else out there, and he just comes out on the edge of the dock and starts taking a piss. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You have a dressing room like 10 feet away, what is your problem? And he's like, fuck you, blah, 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 all this shit. And
I'm
like,
a Machine Head!
For $8 an hour, really? Just go the fuck inside. Like, you're gonna get a ticket. The cops are like, come on, man. You're out on the street in Cleveland. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But he didn't care. He was an asshole. Bald-headed dude. But...
Did you ever meet Rob Flynn? Was he an asshole?
No, I didn't get to meet
I always
him.
thought Rob Flynn would be a nice guy, but I mean, I could see anyway being an asshole.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah. So State of Euphoria, Anthrax, one of my favorite records. Cinderella, Long Cold Winter comes out. I'm a big Cinderella fan. In my opinion, that is my favorite glam metal band.
Yeah, I like them too.
Mike, talk to me a little bit about that.
We do a lot of Cinderella, and being in the glam band.
You do Nobody's Fool, don't you?
No, we do
know what
Gypsy
you got.
Road.
No, they don't do that.
You don't believe how many people come up and say, "Oh, Cinderella is my favorite '80s band." Like Lale, our other guitar player.
They're fantastic. In my opinion, I think they're great because they're heavier than a lot of the glam metals, man, but they're still glam.
And their frontman's voice was just different than everybody else's.
Like Lale, our other guitar player, he just turned 21. They're his favorite. He said Tom Keeper's voice is his favorite. And Tom Keeper was the original Trent Reznor.
Yep.
He played everything on those albums.
He did.
He did?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't know.
See all that stuff like Cinderella and like Winger and stuff like that came out in that time.
Kit Winger.
That stuff I remember as being like the background music to looking at like porn mags that we found in my friend's brother's room, and that's kind of where I put it. But this is also kind of where hair metal is at its peak.
Yes.
But it's also where it starts.
Yeah.
Starts going down.
It's oversaturated.
I remember hearing Winger, like, easy come, easy go. Like,
This is like maximum market saturation.
Well, and everybody gives
oversaturation.
Winger shit.
Danger.
Like you remember on Beavis and Butthead. what was
Yeah,
it?
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Stewart.
Yeah.
Everybody gives Winger shit. Have your band learn a fucking Winger song.
Winger is goddamn near prog
Good
rock.
point.
It's pretty amazing.
We used to
to
do 17. That is the hardest song
I
I've
love
ever
that
learned.
song. That's a hard
That
riff.
ain't a song you
Oh,
can make
yeah.
today. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
that's true. Christine 16.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Kiss songs you couldn't do again.
I know I don't say
A
this
lot.
to school, the girls your age, but when I saw you come out of school that day, I knew I had to have you. What?
Yeah, you can't
Anyway,
say that.
Hashtag me too.
We're gonna move on to No Rest for the Wicked. I talked about that a little bit with that was the first record with Zach Wilde.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first your first impression when you heard this new guitar player Zach Wilde on the No Rest for the Wicked record? 1988. They no longer have Randy Rhoads, obvious reasons. They no longer have Jakey Lee. They have this new guitar player, Zach Wilde. What do you guys think?
My first impression was, dude, chill on the fucking pick harmonics.
Yeah, he kind of does a lot of them.
Yeah, he does.
But it was the first time since Randy Rhoads where the guitar player for Ozzy had his own personality.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I listening to it. It sounds like a breath of fresh air.
Jake was a monster, but he took a back seat.
Yeah.
Zach was almost equal to Ozzy.
I had already let that Ozzy go at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
No.
Some other albums that came out in 1988. Of course, we had Megadeth, So Far, So What, or excuse me, So Far, So Good, So What. Great record. Mary Jane is on that. Anarchy in the UK, their cover from the Sex Pistols. But of course, Metallica beats them one more time with the record And Justice for All, which comes out in 1988. Dennis's favorite record. Not my favorite record, but it's still really good.
It is great.
Short as
songs.
Straw.
It is some great songs.
Frayed Ends of Sanity. Great songwriting.
The recording, to me, is fucking tragic on that album.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think they had hired Jason Newsted yet. There's
I've
like
heard
no
a ton of different
friggin'
stories.
bass on that album.
None.
And it killed me because when you heard it live, those bass lines are
Really good.
Friggin' good.
Because Jason
But
Newsted was a hell of a
See,
a hell of a
I've heard-
showman.
I've heard that they were
He's also a
fucking
nice
with him because
guy.
he was the new guy, and so
Yeah, he's
Lars.
got
Well, I heard that
Got
it
the
was a
engineer to
tribute,
turn the
not a
bass
tribute.
down.
I heard it was a respect to Cliff Burton that they
Oh,
didn't have.
okay.
That's what I heard.
That
Yeah,
didn't
that's
like
not
him
what you do
because
to
he
a
was
bass
a
player
fanboy.
in your
Yeah,
band.
that's a bad business plan.
That's
man.
terrible.
Jesus.
Well, when has Lars ever had a good business plan?
Yeah, but I think they were-
They presented that thing as a comeback and sold and talked all of us in the record business into ordering 100 of them.
That's true. You were in, yeah.
That whole some kind of monster thing just ruined it.
But I think
Yeah.
Injustice,
when you got the peek behind the
Yeah,
curtain.
you're like,
Yeah.
I think Injustice had great songs recorded fucking horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
I
were
think
great.
it's
It was great songwriting.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fantastic. But yeah, you're right. Bad recording. Motley Crue enters rehab at this time. Let me ask you a question, Mike. Was this kind of the end of glam towards the end of 1988? Are we on a downward spiral? Is the energy starting to die off?
Yeah, I think it's starting to get a little more raw than
Yeah.
glam.
I think it's the excessiveness. People were over it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, and a lot
Not
of
just
them
because
dying.
it's the end of the decade, but it's just
And the
dying off.
oversaturation produced a lot of shit that wasn't good.
I mean, you
Just
had Danger,
warrants
Danger,
and
you
all
had
that shit.
Warrant, you
Yeah.
had Trickster, you had
Enough's enough.
Hey
Tesla.
man, Down
You had-
Boys is my favorite Warren song. Don't
You
get it
had,
twisted.
Badlands falls into this realm now.
Yeah,
That
Badlands,
was-
yeah.
You had a lot of really
It didn't,
shitty
like,
hair metal bands.
Vince
that came
Neil
in that
killed
time.
Badlands had a couple
Right.
great songs, though.
Say it again?
Didn't
They
Vince
did.
Neil in that wreck? Didn't he kill Razzle or something like
Yeah,
that?
he killed
killed
Razzle
the
on
guy-
the Hollywood Strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't do
that
it. Day in
kinda-
jail.
No, hell no.
Do you
Also,
think
this
that
was-
started the decline of the glam scene?
I think
Maybe
I
that
don't think
started
that
it, but-
specific.
I personally think
I
it was
did,
already
but yes.
I think it was
Well-
Nelson. I think when you saw those two blonde motherfuckers jump on trampolines.
that is
We just added a Nelson song.
Nelson is kind of another attempt at making another Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally didn't work.
No.
That album sold a shitload, though.
Sure it
Yeah.
did.
But I mean,
Sure it did.
Their second one? Did they have a second one?
actually they did, and it did not.
It tanked. Yeah.
1989. The last year of our little discussion here, 1980. Bruce starts his solo career, still being an Iron Maiden, of course. Marilyn Manson starts getting his shit together, along with Stone Temple Pilots and Fear Factory. I mentioned Stone Temple Pilots because that's going to be a big factor into the 90s, which we're going to kind of touch on.
Are they considered metal?
No, but I'm
they're
saying
hard rock.
we're gonna
They're
touch on
close
it
enough.
because of the transition from 1989 to what we see in the 90s, which was
Yeah.
mostly shit.
Yeah.
Except for Slave to the Grind.
I will,
Except for Slave to the Grind.
I will disagree with the 90s being shit, but
I
that's
like
another
them too.
podcast.
That's
for
another
day.
podcast for another day. Annihilator drops Alice in Hell. God damn, that record's great. Follow the Blind from Blind Guardian, Exodus, Fabulous Disaster, which I do not like, that everyone else hates me for.
My senior year in high school.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Testament, Practice What You Preach comes out. Great fucking record. Dr. Feelgood comes out. We're going to touch on that a little bit later. Skid Row's first record comes out. We'll definitely touch on that. And of course, Sepultura drops.
I thought Skid Row was older than that, man.
No, not 89. We're gonna talk about Sepultura dropping Beneath the Remains, which is my favorite Sepultura record. First of all, let me ask, Skid Row, is it hair metal?
No.
It's good.
That's when they started getting a little more raw. And did you know John Bon Jovi put that band together?
They're
I
only
didn't know
known
that.
for like their ballady style songs though, but the
Dude,
rest
Oh,
of it-
you've got Wild.
Yeah, that's a great
So
song.
yeah, I mean you have 18 in Life, but
yeah. And I remember
Skid Row was a straight up like I mean there was metal to them, but
Yeah.
they were like
they were good.
an incredibly good just rock and roll.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that! Look at that! The song that kicks off the record, "Big Guns."
Mhm.
She's got the big guns. Like, it's good shit. Sweet Little Sister.
Sweet Little Sister, great song.
That's a great song.
Skid Row is
Here,
I think
am.
Sebastian Bach's such a character that you're just like,
Yeah.
and he's like 6'5".
yeah, you're like they're douchebags.
Get that hair in there.
Skid Row is way underrated.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yes,
I think so
absolutely.
too, man.
I think that they're like that album that a lot of folks kind of it's the guilty pleasure album for a lot of people,
I agree.
and
I love that record.
there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if we're gonna sit here and talk good about Guns N' Roses and Bon Jovi for that matter for
You
the
have
last
to.
half an hour,
You have to include Skid Row.
Skid Row was really there in the attitude and that raw aspect that you mentioned. They are kind of a pivot point that is going to be really important once you start moving through that year.
Yeah.
I think if Sebastian Bach wouldn't have been so good looking, they would have been a metal band.
Yeah.
If
Or
he-
at least stayed
but-
mysterious.
but,
and,
you know,
didn't
if he had
talk.
just had-
Girls liked him because of
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, going back to Dr. Feelgood, who reaches number one, mind
Yeah.
you, on the top 100 Billboard, is Dr. Feelgood the last glam metal record?
To me, that was watered down.
Yeah, it was real boring.
Yeah.
But was it the last? I mean, Motley Crue, we've already established, is glam metal.
No, there
Is
were
that
some
the
definite
last?
stabs at it later, but that's the last. I would say.
By the last.
I think Mick Mars
That's
was just
great.
running out of steam at that point. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Running out of cocaine.
because he was like he was the driving force of Motley Crue, but he was really ugly, so he didn't get any airtime.
He was ugly enough to be a Ramon.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Ramones were
Like on album covers, they'd be like, "Mick, could you get back in the shade?"
They shot it with half
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
I mean, it was a decent album. It had some good songs. It wasn't a great album. It
Kickstart
had
My
great
Heart was all
songs.
about,
Yeah.
Nikki Sixx dying 2 times. Or
And
whatever.
how many songs is Nicky gonna write about heroin overdose?
Yeah.
he
Until
was a
he
whole
dies.
album.
How many albums?
5 years ago? So
Yeah.
And usually let him.
1989 didn't give us a whole lot of heavy metal.
did.
It gave us some decent metal, and I dig it. You know,
Was
1989.
that Alice in Chains debut year? Or?
Yeah.
They formed that year.
look, you
They
you
put
got some
out
cool
they
shit.
put out their EP. What do you have?
All right, you got the first At the Gates EP.
That's
So,
right. That's
You've
right.
got Dismember like an ever-flowing stream.
When does
You've got
Tool show
Entombed, Left Hand Path.
Tool is early.
You have-
90s,
okay.
yeah.
You have the I forgot which one it is, but the first of Typo Negative starts falling
Yeah.
in there. You have Anthrax and Public Enemy doing their team up thing.
We don't need to
You
talk
have-
about that.
Always.
No, you have New York hardcore really starting to really embrace metal, where you're starting to get like the Alpha Omega Cro-Mags.
I
rather
can
than-
agree to that. Yeah.
You have Agnostic Front really embracing the metal rather than the speed aspect after Roger Merritt gets out of jail. You have you do have things are speeding up at that point. You have death metal really becoming a dominant thing in the underground.
And that's what's going to carry on to your argument of like the 90s metal wasn't as bad as people say.
Absolutely not.
And we're not going to get into that right now.
No,
but
that's a
I
different
agree.
time.
I would say 90s radio rock sucked.
But you have seasons
But-
of the Abyss.
Yes.
You have.
I mean,
You say that.
But you also have
until
Pearl
you
Jam 10, which was fantastic.
Until you get to the year 2000, because Nickelback made me be like, hey man, Soul Asylum wasn't that fucking bad.
Anything that makes you say the Soul Asylum wasn't bad in the 90s, holy
didn't
shit.
have horrible records. I mean, Countdown to Extinction, Fear of the Dark, which is one of my favorite Iron Maiden records. I mean, and Reload's not a terrible record, you know. I mean, but I get what you're
It's a
saying.
bad Metallica album, it's not a bad album.
Yeah.
I want to get to something that I think is a huge topic. Was the very first rock and metal performance Grammy went to Jethro Tull in 1989. Wasn't that a big deal? That got a lot of boos, right?
I'm gonna
Nothing says metal like a flute.
Right.
look.
Yeah.
No, look. I'm gonna
That was the first time ever, mind you.
I'm gonna take a small fugue and rant here. The Grammys are a group of basically at this point dinosaurs.
I think that was their attempt at trying to get metal in, and they just didn't know what the fuck they were
Well,
talking
I mean,
about.
when you consider that every
Maybe it
member
was
of
a
Fleetwood
lifetime
Mac had an
achievement for
Academy
veteran
vote.
solo kind of thing.
You had all these guys who were. I mean, this is the '70s is still voting in '89.
Yeah.
So you have members of the Eagles. I mean, at that point, Jethro Tull was palatable to the people who were voting.
Right.
And
Exactly.
the Grammys are basically like the Oscars, where it's the
Yeah.
Academy vote. And they don't call it that, but
Yeah.
it was music industry people. So you have Barry Gordy from Motown voting.
It's like everybody.
So, I mean, like, that guy's gonna get
Generation
in Justice
After
for
Them
All.
sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because the next year in 1990, Metallica wins the Grammy for one. Why couldn't they have won it?
Which is weird because the Grammy cycle would have been starting in '88, not in '89. So they won it in '90 after the cycle.
Yeah.
That's weird, and it's a weird way to end this part 2 of our metal in the 80s.
Yeah, now we're all sad.
Now we're all sad, but I do want to talk about one thing. One question that I have that I think is very important to our 80s metal for this episode. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining us for this. If you missed part 1, don't forget to check us out that was really all where the good shit was. Everything from 86 to down was kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of downturn.
I do want to ask.
So we all ran out of beer, too.
Agreed, yeah. Well, I still have my 10 high, but it's gasoline. I want to ask, what ruled the 80s? Hair metal or thrash metal? I'm going to go to each one of you guys. I'm going to start with Bill.
Do you mean commercially?
Hair metal. Hair metal won the day. Sold the most
I'd
records.
say with metalheads, thrash metal. With normies, people that just watch MTV and want to wear what's cool, hair metal.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm still making money off 80s hair metal.
Exactly.
Billy?
The lingers.
What you have to look at what lasted past its moment. The
Longevity, you get the thrash metal.
hair metal, yeah, absolutely. Hair metal,
Even though he's still selling tickets off.
and crack
But
a beer
that's
for the
the
working man
genre
on that
of
one.
it.
But I mean, you look
in
at
strip clubs. It did.
it still does. Shit, Danzig's first album's still getting played in strip clubs.
Where's Round and Round getting played?
Strip clubs.
Like-
And the fair. I mean, it's the guy running the Ferris wheel playing round and round. But thrash metal lasted past its present moment.
And still does.
Hair metal. I mean, there's nobody put together. The K-Tel Records. This is thrash compilation, but they're making power ballads. Every bad boy has his soft side.
Right.
They're doing that because that present moment is over.
Yeah, but Steel Panther's making glam metal records.
Steel Panther.
Nah, they made a couple. They're not making
Steel Panther. It was to a degree just a comedy act.
Yeah.
What about like bands like The Darkness and stuff?
To a degree, that falls under that and Wolf Mother fall under the Queen rule,
Yeah.
where it's
Good point.
neither fish nor fowl.
Yeah.
But thrash metal survived past the point where the '80s end. You still have a rise coming up.
Power
up on
Trip.
screen. You have Power. Yeah, Power Trip is still that's now. Toxic Holocaust is now.
God, thank
You
you.
have.
I love you for pointing that out because I just got that
They're-
today.
they're
And
great.
it's signed by Joel Grind. So
I mean, it lasted past its moment.
Yeah.
Slayer continued to make good stuff. they didn't really stop. You had,
I don't think Slayer's put out a bad record.
I mean,
even do you
no.
do you all listen
I
to
mean,
music?
Anthrax still. I mean, Sound of White Noise came out in '93.
Yeah.
That still stood up even in the face of grunge.
Love
Yeah,
that
but I Am
album.
the Man came out in '91.
And that,
Right.
that thrash
We're talking
style of
about
music kind of got bogarted by punk rock. There was a lot of
Yeah.
ushers in punk rock
Oh, for
now that
sure.
were never there before and stuff.
Yeah, and
And then
we
you have, like,
became.
crust punk.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you don't even have to hit
Pressure
crust
style.
punk. You just have to hit Epitaph Records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fat
essentially, when
Records
you get down to it, it's skate metal.
Yeah.
True.
It's essentially SNFU and Rancid and all and No Effects and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That is speed metal.
Strung out.
Yeah.
Like bands
Strung
like
out.
that or
I mean,
that.
Fat Wreck and Epitaph
That was
is
my high school. Pennywise, Face to Face.
yeah, it's
Trolley,
speed metal.
all
It's
that.
own, it's speed metal without the solo in the
Yeah.
middle for the most part. And even some of the bands did solos in it.
Yeah. Some of
But
them.
it's and some of them had really proficient guys. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned SNFU. They did.
Yeah, a lot of the punk drummers were like every bit as good as metal
Absolutely.
drummers. You know?
And it started to blend together, and that's
Yeah.
where, as you enter the '90s, mid '90s with hardcore,
Yeah.
metal became dominant in hardcore.
Yeah.
Shitty Slayer riffs ruled
Yeah.
in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
It did.
I mean,
Hence Season of the Abyss.
Blast
and
beats became the norm. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and stuff.
I mean,
It used
and
to
that's
just
where
be
you
a
get,
part of a song.
and that's where you
Now
get
it's
the crust
entire
punk
song.
aspect with like,
Yeah.
not Dysphere. Any band with dis in it became
Discharge, like the D beats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Discharge falls in on that Slayer Bathory thing
Yeah.
where it leads
Yeah.
into grindcore, into death metal,
Yeah.
into black metal.
And those converged style bands.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Yeah.
I can't say that's punk
And-
rock, you know?
No,
like,
not really.
Yeah.
It started when you look at how it the like kind of I guess the family tree of it when you break
Yeah.
it out. The genealogy of it, you
Yeah.
get a lot more metal in your punk
Yeah.
after about '89.
Yeah.
And that's a contribution of bands like the Big Four, like Exodus, like Corrosion of Conformity, who contributed majorly to crust punk.
And
Yeah.
Testament. And
Testament,
Creator.
These are
Well, no, maybe not Creator.
Yeah.
well, Creator, yeah, definitely.
Sure. Okay.
But and Agent Orange by Sodom, which came
Yeah.
out in '89.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this stuff, and for that matter, Sepultura. You mentioned
Yeah.
Beneath the Remains.
That
A
record
little
was so
bit
good.
later, you have Chaos AD, which also throws heavily into crust punk.
Yeah.
Literally everything that we listen to now, every subgenre, every little weird bracket, somehow comes out of this one decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
I think that's why 80s metal is such a huge deal, not only for the thrash aspect that you were talking about, but the glam aspect as well. And all these old school heavy metal bands that came out of that time, like
Yeah.
we talked about Iron Maiden, like we talked about Def Leppard, we talked about, we talked about the new wave British heavy metal guys like Saxon and Samson, Witchfinder General, we talked about Angel Witch, guys like that. That's why I think 80s is so important, which is why I wanted to do this table of metal, and I couldn't have picked a better panel to do it.
You probably could have.
I might have, if I would have really thought about it. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and put the signage on this episode.
No. We didn't touch grunge. You said we were going to hit grunge. Let's hit it.
Okay, we're going to hit grunge because we wanted to talk about the transition from 1989 into 90.
Yeah.
What do you got? Like you Nirvana and
Melvins into another.
No, there's a lot of things you could hit because you also have Creatures, which is a weird pivot point between hair metal and grunge.
Well, listen to Slave to the Grind. That had some grunge action.
It did.
it did.
But
I agree.
Like 2 weeks after that came out, we got Nirvana, and hair metal was done.
Yeah, done. Yeah.
Slave to the Grind.
Everybody cut their
91,
hair out,
91,
started
91.
flannel.
Yeah, that was a great record.
Yeah.
So I love Monkey Business.
Well,
Yeah, we played that.
Quicksand Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, let's also be honest about it. When you listen to Soundgarden,
Yeah.
there's like that thing drips with Led Zeppelinism.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you listen to Stone Temple Pilots, you can tell essentially the only album that those guys had was a Kiss album at some
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
That was literally where the beginning is. The Melvins, I mean, they love Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, their solo albums, the insides fold out into a poster, just like the Kiss solo albums do.
Yeah.
They do the Love Thing from Kiss on Ozma.
Reminds me of the Jasons. They
Yeah,
always end it with Love Gun.
yeah. and
Because
it's
Love
cool.
Gun is the best Kiss record.
Huh.
Don't debate me.
I bought that at the
Destroyer.
store with the little pop-out gun.
Because he's talking about his dick. My friend David has the...
Not me.
Nah. My friend David... We're talking about Ogre's dick.
Yeah.
My friend David has the 45, and it's a tank. The record is a tank, and it's Love Gun.
Damn, that's cool.
It's really cool. I want to buy it for him, but he won't sell it to me.
But yeah, you have Nirvana, which Nirvana obviously they did some shit.
Yeah.
They only put out... You know, it blows my mind. They only put out 3 records.
Well, think about the fact
they
that their
got
whole
Bleach,
career only
Zero,
spans 5 years.
Incesticide. Nevermind.
Incesticide was a 7-inch comp.
Yeah.
It's not an album.
It's not an album?
No, it's a
Technically
7-inch
not.
compilation. It's compilations of their sides of split 7.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah, they only had 3 records. It's weird.
I mean-
it's almost like when the way people talk about them, it's like, oh, they put out
But
like
it's-
10 records.
but it's only
It was quality though, man.
but it's only 5 years.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
good for him that he passed away young because, like, imagine if Nirvana, if he didn't die.
do you know how bad
We
it
wouldn't
was?
have the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Good
and
point.
to a degree, if you think about that, even where we're going to keep going with grunge, to a degree, that's that Bon Jovi aspect too. You think about any band right now that can tour stadiums. There might be 5 rock bands that can do stadium tours alone.
True.
Not as a cluster of rock groups, but alone.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly easy and a lot of fun to make fun of Nickelback.
Oh yeah, they can play stadium.
But they can do it.
They suck so hard.
They are.
That's paint by numbers, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
they only have
They
6
sound like a
possible
bad
melodies,
bar
and they just
band
combine
to me,
them.
man. Like,
Yeah, they figured it out though. More power to them.
But they figured it out, and it's a bunch of ugly guys who managed to make it big. Only the Bay City Rollers did it better.
I can't imagine
I mean,
going to like
and
a
only
record
for-
producer.
they
and
did
being like,
longer.
This is my song. I want to be a rock star.
This is
Put 7 tracks of my vocals.
wait a second. I'm gonna do I Want to Be a Rock Star
Yeah.
after I had a #1 album.
Yeah.
After,
Yeah.
not before.
Yeah.
After. You are a rock star.
Yeah.
You did
Technically.
Yeah.
But I mean, Foo Fighters can do it, and that's a descendant, really a descendant of grunge.
Yeah.
And
So the transition from 1989 into grunge into the 90s, the 90s were a big part. I mean, you know, you had some heavy metal that
You had
was
a lot.
going on,
A
and
lot
you had a
of
lot of
great
it,
heavy metal.
mostly in the East, in the European.
Yeah, but in the 90s,
No,
if you
you
judge
did
like
most
the
of the
radio
American
music, garbage. But there was great.
yeah.
Like, yeah, Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
it was not as cool to be a metalhead in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's exactly it.
because of the attitude. Well, guys, that's a conversation for another time. We're gonna sign it off right here, guys. I had a lot of fun talking about 80s
This was a
metal
blast.
with you
Yeah.
guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, this is Billy Metz from Tiger Mask and for fucking John Wolf's telephone booth again. And of course, he used to run the greatest. Do not debate me. The greatest record store in Charleston.
Tunes.
We were all right.
Cats Music.
No, dude.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, oh my god. All right.
Now we have
We're gonna wait till it's over. I'm gonna tell you something funny.
We got Mike Osborne from Glam Nation. Love this guy as always. Mr. Seth Heydrich from nothing. I'd say that, but he's from a lot of things.
From plenty of places.
He's from plenty of places.
He's got no.
Mr. Paul Laughlin from Alert the Media. Got a new record coming out pretty soon. You're in the middle of recording right now.
Correct.
And again, I'm PJ Steven from Metal for Metal. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this part 2 of 80s Metal. If you haven't seen part 1, don't forget to check us out. And of course, subscribe to our channel, Metal for Metal. Again, thank you guys for joining us. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you guys next time.
Born in the 90s.
Let it tick.